Yesterday, we had the Trump speech at the WEF, or the World Economic Forums, which I did live stream. So thank you all for joining there. We also hit the record number of people in our live stream that we've had so far. So that was cool. Okay, guys, let's get into it. So Trump basically said he wants to apply tariffs on foreign companies. So what does this mean? Well, it means that Trump doesn't want as many imports. So he's going to apply tariffs to companies importing to the US, and he's going to give tax breaks to companies manufacturing in the US, basically giving a pretty good incentive, actually, for companies to go and start using the US infrastructure and move to the US. Now, this is a positive sign for the US dollar, although I'm not 100% certain that tariffs have been completely priced in yet, because we haven't really heard too much. We've not seen much action taken on tariffs at all yet. So I think that's not really a factor at the moment in the US dollar, although I think obviously if it starts becoming, or it starts coming into fruition, then it will be. But that will be negative for things like the Chinese currencies, the CNY. It will also be bearish for things like the euro, and it will be bullish for the US dollar. The next big thing was interest rates. So Trump wants interest rates in the US to come down basically immediately. In fact, that is what he said. He said he wants them down immediately. This was a big hit to the US dollar. This was one of the big things that actually caused this bearish move in the first place. So we're kind of stuck in between what does Trump want and what is Trump going to do, and what does the Fed want and what is the Fed going to do? Because as we know, the Fed is looking to slow down the rate cuts this year. We're likely getting a hold this month, and then we might be getting a cut in the next statement. But if it's very difficult to say because we're at war. Obviously not literally, but we're a difficult spot between Fed and Trump at the moment. So the Fed takes things on a data by data perspective. They see how the data is coming in, how is that going to affect the economy, what can they do, what do they need to do to obviously meet expectations and do what they need to do to keep the economy in a good spot. So if Trump's not in that same level, we might see a little bit of a head-butting war between Trump and the Fed. Although the Fed is a private entity, obviously they basically can do what they see as fit, and they don't necessarily have to listen to Trump. But obviously that could get a little bit messy if they don't. So we are stuck a little bit on what is actually going to happen. This is just my view, of course. But yeah, that was a big hit to the US dollar. So we might see some more cuts getting priced into the US dollar at the moment. As we see the dollar decline, that does cause inflows of capital, obviously outflows from the US dollar, inflows into other currencies such as the euro, the pound, and even gold. So actually, while we're on the topic of gold, we didn't really hear much in terms of the metals at all, really. But what we did see was gold and silver did pretty well. Bitcoin also did very well. And what I assumed that this move on gold was due to was more the fact of a capital preservation and risk off mode just while we saw Trump speaking, rather than any sort of speculative trading. It was more just let's get money out of the currencies and out of stocks just because we don't know what's going to be said. Let's put it into gold so it's safe and it's stable. And then once we know, or once we've got some more signals, once we've got some more clarity around what's going to happen, we can then start putting money back into risk assets. So we also saw oil really take a hit. We saw a 2.5% decline here on oil last night when we saw Trump talking. And when I say last night, obviously it's last night for me. It depends where you live. But yeah, 2.61% decline here on oil. And that was driven by two things. Obviously, we know that Trump wants to drill, baby, drill. That's been his rhetoric for a while. He wants to drill more in the US. Obviously, that will bring supply up, it'll bring demand down, being negative for oil prices. But the core thing that we heard last night was he wants OPEC to bring down their prices, to reduce prices. So if they are going to do that, I'm not sure if they will listen. Probably not, to be honest. But if they do, obviously that will be bearish for oil. So investors that are looking to buy oil up to higher prices will have been wanting to get out of positions. So this was, again, a very negative factor here for oil prices. This will also take an impact on the Canadian dollar. As you guys should know, the Canadian dollar is heavily correlated to oil prices. So when oil drops, we often see the Canadian dollar drop and vice versa. The next thing was NATO spending on defense. So currently, Trump said that the NATO countries spend around 2% of their GDP on defense, which isn't equivalent to the US. So he wants them to basically bring that up to around 5%. So this will be a bullish catalyst for the dollar, bearish for euro. Although again, it's not really coming to much fruition in terms of the markets just yet. Maybe once action is actually taken, then we'll see some sort of effect. But that's not a huge thing that I would really plan a trade around. It's more something just to keep in mind and something to add to your economics list rather than a huge market mover. Now, the next one isn't really something I'm too interested in, but if you trade stocks, maybe even commodities, this will be quite interesting to you. So, Trump wants Trump wants America to be the AI capital of the world, basically. So he's going to be backing coal and fossil fuels, obviously to help support these AI companies. So this will be good for, again, the AI stocks, possibly even Nasdaq as well. So pay attention to that. In terms of the US dollar, I wouldn't expect it to be a huge immediate factor in terms of US dollar bullishness, maybe in the next 10, 20, 30 years. Obviously, if that seriously helps the economy grow, then yes, we might see some effect. But again, I wouldn't view that as a huge catalyst to go along on the dollar just yet. The next thing was the war between Russia and Ukraine. Now, this really helped the euro actually gain some strength. It did take a hit here on the dollar. So, what Trump wants to do is end that war immediately. He's going to basically talk. Well, what he said he was going to do is talk to Putin and see what arrangements they could come to and how that could work out. Um, Obviously, the US dollar likes war, it benefits from war. So if that war's coming to an end, we are going to see the dollar start to depreciate a little bit. And the euro has been held down. That's been a pretty big factor actually in suppressing the euro's strength is that war. So when that comes to an end, or if it comes to an end, we will see the euro start to have a little bit more support. However, if that doesn't happen, we did hear Trump say that he was going to punish Russia essentially. I don't think they will apply sanctions to Russia. I would assume that they would apply high tariffs. Um, but we'll have to see how that plays out. Of course, we're trying to skip stones here, so I'm not in the business of doing that. We take it on a data by data aspect, like the Fed does, and we'll see how that all plays out. But that was the rundown that traders should be paying attention to. So just to recap, we have got interest rates, or Trump wants interest rates to be cut immediately. He wants the war in Russia-Ukraine to be put to an end immediately. He's going to put tariffs on foreign companies that are importing to the US and tax breaks to companies that are manufacturing in the US. Trump wants oil prices to come lower. He also is reinforcing his drill baby drill. And we've got NATO spending. So guys, it wasn't really a huge thing. We didn't see anything too massive. We did hear talks of things that could be quite big. Obviously, if the Fed starts a huge rate cutting cycle again, we will start seeing huge pressure on the dollar. But again, we're gonna have to just see what actually happens. So guys, that was it from me. I hope you found this video useful, and I will see you later. Thank you for joining as always. Oh guys, by the way, before you leave, you can join my free Telegram. I put market updates in there and analysis and things, so feel free to join that. It's 100% free. Please like and subscribe. I'll see you very, very soon.